Hey everybody, welcome back. Icon here. Thanks for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. Today we hop on board with Scump as he and the Chicago Huntsmen battle PRESTINNI, which is Arcitys' brothers, and the Florida Mutineers. So as we get into this one here, real quick, I do want to say that I think Florida is probably at like the bottom of that second tier of teams. They're not going to lose the majority of their matches, but I think if I had to guess right now, based on the way that they've been performing in scrims, I would say that Florida would probably finish somewhere in the middle of the pack. So with that in mind, let's think about that. Let's remember that as we're going through this. Now, they did scrim like 7 or 8 days ago, and Chicago had a clear edge there. So we'll see in this map if it's gotten closer, or if it's stretched out a little bit, or what exactly is going on. Now, as we're talking about strategy, Chicago has the spawns that you want. So all that Seth is doing is holding down this right lane, while his teammates looked like they were holding down that left lane. I'm not really sure why that happened. So somehow Florida pushed through. As Seth was back there, he saw somebody up at top sandbags. He saw 2 people run around. So when that happened, these spawns are going to flip. So now as it rotates to this second hardpoint, 4 just went down for Chicago. Florida is going to have control of this second hardpoint, and that's a pretty big mistake. If you're Chicago, now I know that Sender usually watches this, who is Chicago's coach. If I'm Sender, I want to watch through that, and I want to go back and see where exactly did somebody get through, because when Seth was down in a kill cam, we saw Envoy on that left side flank, and then when Seth came up, he got the right side flank. So I don't know if somebody snuck through middle, if Chicago died on hill and then they let it go middle. I'm not really sure what happened there, but somehow they got flanked behind. Now they don't have control of spawns. They don't have control of hill. And now instead of being up probably like 70 to 15 at the end of the second hill, they're going to have a deficit going into the third hill. Now, as we speak about the third hill, if you're Chicago, all you have to do right now is get the cuts. So if you look at the minimap, somebody's behind Seth, and Seth has yellow. So you just want to lock down these 2 lanes, and Seth died. Arcitys was able to finish that kill, and then Arcitys died from mid-map. This is exactly what you don't want to happen. So Seth just needs to watch yellow. He should be top yellow, watching that mid-cut out of cave, and Arcitys should have his back, watching that mid lane out of kind of like the center cave. And when Seth went down in bottom yellow, Arcitys went to try to finish that kill. Arcitys got hit from the side, and then both of them went down. So that is a pretty big mistake. It just seems this is just a weird start to the game here. Scump should have been able to lock down. So Chicago and Scump should have been able to lock down spawns for that second hill and max that out. And then they should have been able to get cuts and then max out the time on the third hill also. And they just haven't been able to. And somehow they still have a lead as it's, well, they're going to be down by about 3 as it rotates back to this hill. But this is just one of those things. Florida has had positioning this entire game, this entire match right here, and they haven't been able to capitalize, at least not yet. And even right there, as we rotated to the 4th hill here, Seth was trying to push in. There were 2 from Florida already in hill, and Seth died, which makes you think that Florida should have control of hill. And now, oh, man. All right, so this is just bizarre. So Seth tried to pinch there, and essentially what he was trying to do is Chicago was coming from mid-map. Seth was trying to flank behind and pinch so that they could get 5 down, have control of the hill, and have spawns. As that was happening, Florida pushed out of the 3rd hill, pinched behind, so they came from the center cave. They pushed behind Chicago, and then they went down that way. So it was kind of like a simultaneous flank and pinch, and both teams went down, but it looks like Chicago recovered the most. And as we're about to rotate back into this 5th hill, there are 5 seconds left, and you would assume that Chicago has map positioning, so they're going to be able to max out the points on this 5th hill. This has been a really weird map. It just doesn't seem very disciplined. The team with spawns aren't able to push out into the chokes and control the map. They're not able to get inside of the hill and max out the points. This has just been a really weird start to the map. And with that said, as we rotate to the 5th hill here, somehow Chicago has taken, basically, they've doubled up Florida. Now, Seth's Seth's hitting a flank here. They should have somebody, and they don't. So Seth got 1, 2, 3. This is a little bit irritating, actually. If you're Florida, Why are all three of you looking the same way? You have control of hill. I get that you're trying to push up and get map control, but somebody has to be watching your flank. I don't know why somebody wasn't turned around watching their flank there. That allowed Seth to get a 3-piece. And now if I'm Seth, I'm not really sure why you're doing this either. So I'm not sure why he's watching this. I think he's trying to watch anybody that might be pushing towards that first hill so that they can maximize time. But with Seth being pushed up, he did absolutely nothing. He gave no value towards his team, and it looks like they're going to lose spawns again. So if you're Chicago, you want to be holding down that back spawn so that after the first hill, it rotates back to that second hill. You have spawns for the next hill. This is just one of the most undisciplined games that I've seen so far. You know what? I want to listen in here because I don't know if there's arguing or bickering or disagreements or what, but this just seems like what you would see out of an AM team. Normally, if you have spawns, push out into the chokes, maximize the hill time, and you're not really seeing that at all in terms of this one so far. Let's listen in. Let's just try to get an idea of what the heck is going on here because not a lot is making sense.
You got me broken.
Uphill.
I'll stay in the back, guys.
Yeah, just try to stay alive there.
Somehow Chicago has a 70-point lead. They've doubled their points, and they haven't had spawns or hill control. It doesn't seem like at all.
Underpass.
No, short. They spawn short because you're fucking pushed up.
I got a lot of time.
Front, yeah.
Short.
So Envoy's behind them right now. You would think that as Chicago dies, they would be spawning back towards Envoy. He's just sitting back there. That entire rotation there, Envoy was back there, and they didn't get that spawn at all. But either or, this is the second. So this is the second set of rotations. This is the second time that Florida has had that back spawn, and they've been getting slayed out from the spawn, haven't been able to get points at all. This is bizarre.
Watch your back left if you can. Nothing top.
One crossing absolute. Mox crossing.
Go on. No one there. Two absolute. Three play new.
Need help. 30 cross. One unbroken. One cross.
I real blue.
So right there, you heard Gunless say that there were 3 playing new, which just means that there are 3 people pushing up to the current hill. Florida seems really... They just seem to be paying a ton of attention to cuts and not enough attention to the actual hill time. It's like everybody's pushing out to get a cut, but nobody's pushing into the hill to get time. There's no way that Chicago should have almost a 80-point, 90-point lead here when they haven't had spawns or chokes or anything at all this entire game. Just weird.
Nice. I'm top cat.
He's just sitting there, bro.
And then also, if you're Chicago, you somehow have an 80-point lead. Why are there 4 blue arrows pushing the current hill with 20 seconds left? Maybe 2 SMGs should be pushing towards hill, but the rest of them should be rotating. Why is Scump with 10 seconds left the only person on this side of the map? I get that he's flanking here. He's doing a nice job, but where's his teammate? Where's his help? The hill's about to come up, and there's only 2 people over here. Seth went down. Now, Envoy got a kill. Envoy goes down. Now as it rotates, they're not going to have any positioning at all.
Doggy.
He's short, guys.
Doggy, left boxes.
Five kills. Short got me.
I'm completely dumbfounded. I don't know how Chicago has a 90-point lead. Right there, PRESTINNI. Why aren't you... So, Florida has control of the map. Why is there nobody in hill? Why is PRESTINNI on a flank? At that point in time, there were 50 seconds left in the current hardpoint. Why is he on the other side of the cave? Why was PRESTINNI on cave east and not providing supports inside the hill?
Just holding.
I'm smoking.
Not peeking. Get time.
I have time.
I want new big dogs.
Now, as this rotates towards 4th, my guess would be somebody's going to be over here from Florida. And so there is somebody here. This is going to be a big win. Ooh. So those are kind of nasty shots from Scump there. So as this rotates here, with Scump pushed up, my guess would be that Chicago's probably going to win on this current hill. They only need about 20 seconds. A couple died. There's nobody in hill at the moment. All right, so right there, Scump was pushing up, and Envoy spawned there, so which means that they're going to have pushed out from behind. This is just a weird game.
Did he pinch?
So as
he didn't.
Scump pushed up there to try to push towards the chokes, Gunless and Envoy spawned there, which means they got pushed out from behind, so maybe it won't end here. As of right now, look at the mini-map. There's nobody from Chicago close to the current hill. There's 15 seconds left. I'm not really sure why they're pushing this to begin with. Two just went down from Florida. There's 3 seconds left, and even though Florida just had spawns, I guess the game's going to end. So 250 to 114. This was weird. If I was a coach for either of these teams, there's a lot to break down here. You could spend a couple hours just breaking down the plays from this one alone. I don't know. It wasn't pretty, but it was a big win for Chicago. I wouldn't want to rely on that. You play Atlanta, you play Dallas, or even Minnesota, somebody like that, you're probably not going to win this. Arcitys with 32, slaying out against his brother. Nice job there. And if you look at the kills right here, there's a clear advantage for Chicago. So clearly there's 20 or so more kills for Chicago over Florida there, and that has to deal with why one team won over the other. So I don't know what to say, guys. That was a really weird one. I don't even feel comfortable calling it a dominating performance for Chicago because it was just weird. They didn't have control of spawns. They weren't rotating on time, but they pulled out the W, and sometimes that's all that matters, right? A win's a win, as they say. So with that, if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're about a week away from the Minnesota LAN. I can't tell you how many videos I'm going to put out that weekend, so make sure you sub up for that. Don't leave without leaving a like. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.